Alright, viewers, welcome to another episode of my online comic book therapy. This session is focusing on Captain America 312, a classic issue, and one that I have been requested to do a few times by different people. I always put off these Captain Americas because I feel like I want to do them justice. And I am afraid of letting everybody and the comic down. This issue is by Mark J and Paul Neary, and it has the intro of a new bad guy for Captain America called Flagman. This one was the first issue of at least one of my subscribers, and it holds a similar place in my art because while it is strongly connected to my first issue of Captain America, it was instead one of those issues that was at the top of my collection for so long. Before I even had a single long box, I just had about 100 Captain America issues, and it was a pile with them all on top of each other. And so Captain America's 310, 311, and 312 were right at the top of it. By the time I finally got the issues before that, I had invested in a long box. So those 3 issues remain definitive in my mind as the ones I would always say and usually read because they were right on top of the pile. I love those 3 issues. There is a lot going on in them, and they are bags of fun. And this one gives us a new bad guy, Flagman. This is him vandalising the United Nations building. Flagman hates flags. He cannot stand them. But most of all, Flagman hates countries. He wants to abolish all borders and for everyone to be equal and united under one giant umbrella. I will talk about all the ways I like Flagman as a bad guy when he fights Captain America near the end. But to start with, I will talk about his future after this, because he did go on to become, for a while, a major Captain America enemy. His next appearance is in a 2-parter in Captain America 321 and Captain America 322. If you were wondering, those were my first issues of Captain America. Those 2. So, I do have, again, some of that pesky personal nostalgia for Flagman. But I think I can deal with it and my objectivity better than I could when talking about Sandman. Flagman, he continues to appear in Captain America, like when he beats John Walter's Captain America. He made a few guest appearances elsewhere too. He was in that Moon Man Acts of Vegan story with the Punisher. He was also in a similar Punisher team-up in Ghost Rider. His terrorist group, U.L.T.I.M.A.T.U.M, they appeared in Amazing Spider-Man. Where did it all go wrong for Flagman? I'll tell you when. The last time Marky Mark wrote Flagman was in one of his final issues of Captain America, an issue probably more remembered for debuting the ugly armour that Captain America would wear for a few issues, and people would never let him forget. That was the last time anyone wrote Flagman seriously. There was daft shit like when he was transformed into metal. And yes, he was in a Thunderball story where he took over his own country. But he became the world's most embarrassing jobber. He would be beat by just about any young hero that Marvel were wanting to push. He would often be the recipient of incredibly over-the-top defeats or supposedly hilarious violence, like when Venom ate his arm off. With Flagman, there has always been something I saw on a forum stuck in me head. I think it perfectly summarises what went wrong with Flagman. When that Venom issue came out, I saw someone say, "I didn't realise that was a real character. I thought it was a joke one they created just for Venom to eat." That is it for his introductory scene here. And we cut to Captain America, Steve Rogers, who has just won $1 million. This is his back pay from the United States Army for all these years when he has technically still been enlisted as a soldier boy. And after considering giving the money back to the government, Captain America decides to instead put it to good use, and he wants to establish a hotline where citizens can contact him if they need his help. A nice idea in concept. It's a nice idea, but I think it is laden with a lot of problems, least of which is that it now feels incredibly dated and corny. But from the perspective of the character, it was well-intentioned. Quick little subplot here with Rachel Diamond and the Serpent League of America. They are hunting down M.O.D.O.K to assassinate. Meanwhile, Flagman destroys the flag factory because he hates flags. If you aren't ready for this, I should give you ample warning. You are about to be subjected to some cringy fanboyism here. This woman that Captain America has contracted to help with his hotline, she is from a public relations firm, and Captain America calls her Mrs. Steckley. If you are a true blue Marky Mark fan like I am, you will recognise the name Mrs. Steckley. In Kazar, Moongarden, the beautiful bald lady, she used the name H.D. Steckley as a cover identity when she came to work for Kazar's security firm. There was always the idea that maybe there was a real H.D. Steckley and Moongarden was impersonating her. Although on that note, I would point out H.D. is also Moongarden's initials, which would seem too coincidental for my liking. Later on, we met someone claiming to be the real H.D. Steckley, but then she also turns out to be someone else. Mad Harriet from the New Gods in disguise. This could be the real H.D. Steckley though. Her job here makes sense with what we saw in Kazar. A public relations lady could easily go to work for a security consultant. There's also the possibility that Moongarden used this woman's identity because she had this connection to Captain America, so that if Kazar ever checked on her references, he'd say she did this for Captain America, and Captain America would be like, yeah, she did a good job. I don't think that many of you really care about this little theory I have concocted. So we start to get into Flagman's backstory. And his backstory is, to be honest, abandoned rather quickly, even by Marky Mark himself. I think it maybe made Flagman a bit too sympathetic. He and his politics were born from tragedy, and considering he will be leading a revolutionary terrorist squad, it made more sense to get rid of the sorrow and replace it with ideals. Some spectacularly blunt exposition throughout this sequence. Our big scene, it is when Captain America does an announcement of his hotline service. He wants people to know that they can reach him and contact them with their problems. But of course, this public appearance is targeted by Flagman, who hates Captain America because he represents a country and nationalism. I totally love this scene, all of it. It's great. Captain America is depicted faultlessly. His main concern is the safety of the assembled crowd. And even though Flagman threatens them and holds them hostage, Captain America tries not to antagonize them and listens to what he has to say, because this is Captain America, and Captain America is the best hero in all the world of all time ever. Now is when I talk about why Flagman is brilliant. Flagman's main challenge to Captain America isn't physical. He presents a philosophical challenge. He is combating Captain America's very belief in America, and in this issue, Captain America's belief in freedom of speech and freedom of expression. The dilemma for Captain America is he is faced with an intellectual debate rather than someone who can beat him up. Captain America doesn't think that Flagman's desire for equality is bad, and Captain America cannot respond to his rabble-rousing without compromising his own ideals. More often than not, what Captain America and Flagman boils down to is a debate between the two, with Captain America having to play devil's advocate and reject something that, at its core, isn't a bad idea, but it is being expressed by a bad man. This is also shown fantastically in Captain America 322. And if I remember, we get some of it in 349 as well, where they actually team up. Any suggestion that Flagman is intelligent, or even has integrity, was dropped massively after Marky Mark was gone. They made his views as hollow and stupid as possible. They made him an outlandish, silly, terrorist twat who children punch out off panel. You cannot take this character seriously anymore. He is mistaken as an original character invented to be beaten. In Marky Mark's final issue on Captain America, issue 443, he writes a short essay at the back reflecting on his run on the title. He says that one of his goals when he came on board Captain America was to flesh out and establish a greater rogues gallery for Captain America. He truly did that, and the sad nature is that, other than Bane, every single one of his creations were either never used again, or they had the fate of Flagman. I want to do this now. A rundown of all the new villains Marky Mark created for Captain America. Anarchy, Armadillo, the Serpent League of America, which admittedly was a reworking of the Serpent Society of America, Flagman and U.L.T.I.M.A.T.U.M, TESS-One, Scourge, for better or worse, Super-Patriot, who went on to become U.S.Agent, Tom Beevort, the Watchdogs, Left-Winger and Right-Winger, Bane, Neferman, Superior, Bloodstain, Ballistic, the other Super-Patriot, Dead Ringer, AmeriCop, this Sumo Man, and plenty of others who he salvaged from obscurity. And then there are teams like the Resistance, Power Tools, and Fangs. And that's not all of them. I didn't count Brother Nature because I think he is pretty bad. I didn't count Night Shift because after they debuted in Captain America, they started to appear in other books instead. I didn't count G.I. Max or Warhead or about a dozen others that I just don't consider much at all. This is a great issue and the first appearance of one of the bad guys that Marky Mark G created, who should have been treated equal to Bane, but was instead totally devalued. If you haven't read any of the original Flagman stories from this run, do yourself a favour and go and read them. You will have your eyes opened to how much Flagman provided as a nemesis to Captain America. What is interesting is that he is solo in this. No mention at all of his terrorist group, U.L.T.I.M.A.T.U.M, who show up alongside him in his next appearance. Excellent issue, this one. 7 thumbs up.